since 2023, mental illness cases have skyrocketed, at least in Great Britain, the UK. There is a reason for that, and there's a reason for it that, there is PTSD over COVID. People don't understand it. They think PTSD is like to do with Vietnam or you're in Iraq and this Rambo type stuff, yeah? No, PTSD is getting bullied at school. PTSD is being told you're stupid. PTSD is your parents drunk, screaming at the TV, chucking balls at the wall and that because they can't go to work, or your dad pulling his hair out because he might lose his business, and people did do, and family members. So it was a whole sort of thing that, because we're older and maybe it's not stuck in our mind so much, it's like a shoulder shrug. Well, what is it to a kid?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good day. This is Kallum and Conor with the Unplugged podcast number 75. And today we are incredibly honored and proud and happy to have someone who's made and is making a huge impact in the world, joining us all the way from the UK. It's about 10:30 at night or thereabouts in the UK. Thank you for staying up. And that is Vinnie Shoreman, and Kallum will share with the world a little bit more about you.
Thanks, Connor. Today on the NLP Connekt Unplugged podcast, we have Vinnie Shoreman. Vinnie is an NLP master practitioner and a master practitioner in timeline therapy and a behavioural change specialist known for his work in elite performance, particularly in boxing and MMA. He's worked with fighters and high performers to develop a mindset and a psychological edge needed to perform under pressure when it matters most. Right now, he's working with Lerone Murphy, who's headlining this weekend's UFC bout, giving a real-time insight into what it takes to compete at the highest level. With a background in NLP hypnotherapy and now in EMDR, Vinny brings a powerful integrated approach to creating lasting change. What sets him apart is his real, raw, and deeply vulnerable approach to coaching, helping people drop the armour and shift what truly matters. This is applied psychology in high-stakes environments. Vinny, let's do it.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. It's very nice to hear that. Thank you, fellas. It's been a year since I was on the last one, so a lot's happened in that time. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you both.
Absolutely. One. I'd like to just sort of start off by asking a question. I've never been in a ring or an octagon. You have many times. You've worked with many fighters who are. What is it? Because I have a belief that someone who can create excellence and operate at an elite level in one area, let's say in the ring, if they had a different skill set, they would be the owners of the biggest organizations in the world. They have this competitiveness in their mind that sort of drives them in order to win or in order to better themselves or in order to go to the next level. What do you think it is? What is the reason or the drive that most of these fighters that you work with have within them that keep them going in order to keep going? I mean, yourself included, because you were world number one for a period of time.
No, I wasn't world number one. That's not. I've trained 10 world champions or thereabouts. Had my own gym, been involved in the sport. I do work with everyone, and that's the one thing that people think. Oh, you just work with fighters. That's a total misconception. So I can tell you about the transformation and the way that I've transcended different things in this podcast. So I'm happy to be able to tell you what's gone on in a year. With fighters, they're no different. I mean, they get this idea that they go through this and they do all that because it seems so out there to do. But then again, what does a top-level doctor do? What does a top-level mechanic do? What does a nurse do? Okay, they don't wear belts or capes, but they're still heroes in many ways. So I think it's down to what you desire doing. It's also that there's a high level of dopamine that's released doing this sport, and that's what they crave that. I mean, dopamine it's a very interesting subject because you see people that are trying to achieve certain things because they get these little bits of dopamine and then they're rushing to get this basically this win.
Hey there, this is Connor and Kallum from Connekt Coaching. Hope you are enjoying the Unplugged podcast. Nothing lights us up more than seeing businesses thrive, especially in uncertain times. We have 32 combined years of doing nothing but mentoring and training businesses from around the globe in order to increase their revenue and thrive in uncertain times. So what we would like to do is share with you a little bit about what we've discovered over the last 32 years.
We've created this amazing business model called the Forever Business Model, and we want to give it to you for free. All you need to do is jump down into the description below. There's a link there called Steal Our Forever Business Model. Click on the link. There's a 9-minute video that you can watch where we unpack everything you need to know to implement it in your business right away.
The danger with being a fighter is, yes, it's dangerous anyway, of course, because it's, it's not easy. However, what's dangerous is they don't know who they are when they finish. So, as you know, and you're both aware of Valley's level 3, if you get to a Valley's level 3 and you're trying to transcend to another value, it becomes difficult. So there's lots of caveats with it. I've met some wonderful fighters in the time, but I'm also seeing now the effects of either going on too long, still thinking they can do it, or when they can't do it anymore, losing who they are, which is a frightening prospect when you've settled everything with violence, so to speak. But yeah, so that's a long-winded answer.
Great answer. No, the dopamine hit is so that, like you. My sister-in-law she's a medical doctor. She loves the emergency room. And she gets a kick out of that rush, that sort of someone comes in, severed arm, bang. What do I do? Think fast, act fast, get the job done. Once that person is in the green and they're going to be okay, it's like there's this dopamine hit. Like it feels amazing. I feel alive when this happens. I can relate to that. So it's just the chosen craft, isn't it? That someone gravitates towards and they become good at it. And like even myself, Cal and I, we love helping people improve their businesses. When someone, like there was one of our community members called Megan, and she put a post up saying, thanks a lot for all of your help. I achieved X in my NLP practitioner training. And Cal and I are like, that's the biggest feel-good factor we can have, and we get a dopamine hit over the results that our clients get. So interesting that I never looked at it from a dopamine hit point of view, because we crave it a bit. Like,
yeah, of course. And it's like, I'll be straight with you. I am steering away from working with fighters because I've gone through an empathetic change where I don't really want to be able to assist someone to have a power over another person, to assist them to cause more damage. I will work with people, but I kind of find it, now that I watch it as an older man of 56 now, and I look at it, I kind of find it abhorrent. It's a bit strange. It's there's a transformation going on, a transition of value somewhere. And Lerone is, see, there's a thing with myself and Lerone, because Lerone's great uncle, who's sadly no longer with us, is called Oliver Harrison. He was a world Muay Thai champion. He trained me. So I have an affinity with him. I have a connection. I love for Oliver. Lerone is an absolute wonderful guy. I mean, he was shot. He's been shot in the neck. He's had a story that's horrendous. And, and fingers crossed, because we've never made promises, that he wins on Saturday. But if he weren't such a good human being, then I wouldn't be so emotionally invested. Most fighters are good people. However, it's just like, I just feel that my calling is a little bit different now. Hence me going on a journey, at least for the last 12 months since I spoke to you two good fellas,
Yeah, lots of it.
I remember when we spoke last time, you said that you were starting to make that shift, and there was a big kind of event that happened in your life that kind of was the catalyst for that. One of the things that was really interesting about what you just said is that in that moment, there is that huge dopamine release. And it's probably one of the big things that attracted me to the sport in the first place, because in a way it reminded me of getting on the stage and training a group of people. Because for me, that's like a super high stakes moment. That was, you've got all these fresh eyes on you, and it comes down to this singular moment in time that you have to perform, and you have to hold the energy for the entire group, and all the eyes are on you. And it's quite a vulnerable place to be, and I'd imagine that it would be for the guys that get in the ring. One of the things that struck me about what you just said, and before we move on to where you're going now, I'd like to kind of dig into it a little bit more, was what you said about that identity shift that happens after they leave fighting. And it seems to be maybe a big void that gets created, and they're not sure who they are afterwards. With the type of coaching that you're doing, do you find that that's quite a common thing? And what are some of the things that people can do in order to, I guess, build that bright future for them after something so, when they're struck by the limelight, they've got all this fame, all these eyes on them, cameras. How do they deal with that afterwards?
It depends on the type of person they are. It depends on, you see, what can happen with men is if other men are more physically capable than another man, i.e. the violent or the more stronger than you, and they have more of a presence, other people will back down to that. It's a bit like, the lion in the camp, but you know what happens to lions when they get too old? They get booted out of the camp and get killed by hyenas. It's a very hard life because they don't know how to communicate, because they didn't have to communicate in the level where someone of lesser power had to, because they just have to snarl and people go, okay, do you know what I mean? The room goes quiet and people they can't act themselves because of they don't want to upset the dominant male, so to speak. And I think that becomes difficult. I don't think they're able to communicate, and then they find the softer side, the weaker side, the more empathetic side less palatable to live with, because they've never lived with that. They've seen it kill or be killed, and rip the heart out of your enemy and show it to them before they die while he's still beating, so to speak. So they find it very psychologically difficult. They lose who they are, so they'll try to stay on the wave as long as they can, but it's always going to hit the beach and that'll be it. So it's a very difficult time, and it's one that's not really thought about. It's like retiring, isn't it? Like when people retire from the jobs and they've worked 65 years, they get the golden clock, they get the payout or whatever, and then all of a sudden they drop dead because they lose purpose. I think with men, that if they have to have a purpose, and with women, I mean, I'm not talking about all women, so please don't have a go at me if anybody's listening and thinks this is wrong. But it's like if certain, with the demographic mostly, is that women, well, I want to have a baby. They walk around with prams and dolls and stuff like that because they're mimicking what could go on later on. With boys, it's guns, it's cars, it's swords, it's stuff like that. So to provide and be this certain person. And I think you lose purpose. Once you lose the idea of purpose, it can become very difficult. I know that transition myself, because no longer involved in any of the combat sports, no longer commentating and stuff like that. It's been a very weird time for me, not knowing who I really was. But I'm glad to get to know who I'm going to become. So this is good.
Did you have a mentor to help you transition? I mean, I'm with hearing you talk, I'm thinking of a footy star, for example, a rugby player who's won the World Cup or to that level, and then all of a sudden hit 35, they've retired, and it's like, now what do I do? Now there's a bit of a clearer pathway into coaching, commentating, podcast. There's probably more options for them, and there's probably more mentors and coaches around in order to help them transition. Was there anyone there for you, or did you have to figure this out for yourself?
I had to figure it out for myself, and it was a torrid journey. Don't get me wrong. I call upon Colin Mackay, who I love dearly, as you know, previous guest of yours. No, I had to learn it myself. I had to learn. It's weird because you kind of don't know who you are. See, when I did commentary, I was known all around the world. It was me really, and Michael Chiavello. Michael Chiavello was before me, and a lot of people know his voice, but a lot of people knew mine. And I expected when I left commentary to be this big public outcry or this begging for you to return to the pulpit of where I preached from. It didn't happen. So, I mean, I'm not egotistical enough to be upset by it, but I did. Part of me was like, who am I? What do I do?
Yeah.
And hence learning other things to get me in a better place. However, it's a difficult time. No, there was no mentor, and it's one of these things where if you try to speak about it to anybody, they're not really going to get it, because how many commentators do you know that's been all over the world and been on TV and blah blah blah, and and then try to talk to somebody about it. It's not really what they can do. So yeah, it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah. And has this formed part of your purpose as to what you're doing now, sort of helping people transition? Not solely, but do you feel as though it's part of? I think at some point we all get to a point in life where we look at giving back, whatever that may mean. But we look beyond ourselves as self-absorption of everything.
Yeah.
We look at how can we give back, and that may come with kids, it may come with age, it may come with a life event. It doesn't really matter how it comes about, but at some point we all start thinking, how can I leave this world a better place than when I came into it? Does this form part of your purpose now, sort of working on that level, sort of being that person for doesn't have to be fighters, but people who have achieved success in an area of their life, and then all of a sudden they're no longer in that limelight or in that profession, and they're sort of lost and vulnerable. And in fact, one of our viewers here, Maydad, who used to be I think a world WBO welterweight or featherweight champ, has worked with a lot of boxers, and he says, and he's sort of on this similar journey. And he said he's seen a lot of them being vulnerable to drugs and drinking and things like that. And I guess having that strong male role model, helping them and guiding them to the next launch pad of their life would be very beneficial or helpful for them. Is that an area that you sort of naturally gravitating towards, or you sort of not in that area?
I'm gravitating to whoever who needs my help. I'm working with children now, which I never did. Right. And I'm seeing more and more recognizing with people with ADHD and stuff that I certainly got. And a lot of fighters have got ADHD. That's just the way it is. That's why the hyperfocus comes in. If you hyperfocus and then wanting to get in the ring to fight with somebody, to inflict damage and take damage, and knowing, being aware of there is a danger to it, is an ADHD trait. It's a dopamine thing, And like for me, no, there's no particular demographic that I want to work with. I just get more. Look, I've in all combat sports, boxing, Muay Thai, UFC, I have had a world champion or worked with a world champion in every single discipline. I've done it. Now you could say I've completed the game. Yes, okay. I'm not egotistical on saying I made it happen, but I did help. I was instigated some type of assistance. Yeah, but for me, it's like, sorry?
100%.
Part of the journey, yeah, indeed. Yeah. It's not that. For me, it's the person that comes in that's having that trauma from childhood, a person who comes in who's having upset that they can't even get on a plane, or there's miles more things that make me happy to see people survive, to get better. At the moment, I'm starting work as a mental health officer, health officer, whatever you want to call it, in companies now, because there's so many people. I mean, statistically, last year there was, I think it was between 42 and 53 billion pounds lost due to people being off with anxiety and stress. There is a tidal wave of it. And since COVID, there's a bigger tidal wave coming. Children need my help. Youngsters need my help. And I find it so much more. I connect with them. I find it enjoyable. I find it more heartwarming. I find it more enjoyable to work with everybody else than just someone that wants to beat the snot out of somebody else. I mean, I'm not against it. I've done it, and I'll still work with fighters, but it's not what makes my dopamine now. My dopamine is seeing that I've had some beautiful experiences with, with children that were just having tics and nervousness and having night terrors and stuff like that, and to see their parents' relief that the child is no longer suffering that, or a teenager is going to school and doing better because I did some work with them. That's the blessing that I see now for me. So like I said, I mean, I'm not against working with fighters, but it's primarily not the thing that gives me that real enjoyment. Yeah, exactly. It's like, to see I had an instance of a child, a mother brought her to my house, begged me to see her. And it was a Tuesday afternoon, and this lady rang me. Her name's Lindsay, and she called me, said, please, can you see my daughter? She's having nightmares, and she's had turbulent times with an ex-partner, etc. Stuff that it's not my business, but she did tell me her daughter felt rejected and stuff like that. She was only 10 years of age, and this little girl was lying on the floor, screaming, being physically sick. The school couldn't do anything with her because they're jam-packed with children with anxiety and stuff like that. And she came here. We did some things that I was learnt on the new course that I did of EMDR, and we did some things. The whole thing shifted, and then she had a blissful sleep, and since then she's gone from strength to strength. What's more happy than that? Seeing someone that's a fledgling in life going to do better things, or someone going, oh, I've got a belt because I punched someone's head in. So, okay.
Yeah. You talked about this idea of power over people before, and that's what people in that space crave, and you've gone and moved on from that. And I was reflecting as you were talking before about people who I think of as being really powerful. It's people like Mother Teresa or Gandhi or Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Those types of people have a different type of power, and I think that power isn't power over people; it's power for people. It's about developing what the skills that you've built over a lifetime with your personal experience. Now you're injecting that back into these young people, these kids that their whole lives could have been affected by carrying that with them, but now are able to sleep calmly and peacefully. And to me, that's a different type of power that you're tapping into. It's a personal power, it's an empowerment, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, what people don't understand, and this is going to happen, and if people don't open their eyes soon enough, that this is causing a problem. Regardless of what you believe about COVID, it happened to all of us. But it also happened to children where the parents were terrified of their news coming on. They were seeing this. They couldn't go to work. We had lockdowns. We had things like that going on, death tolls and stuff like that. Imagine being a child. Imagine being a child while that went on, while you're in the imprint period, I'm sure you both know, or beyond that, and you're just hearing. Now, some people handled it well, some people didn't. I think in COVID, everybody lost the plot somewhere. Everyone had some sort of mental sort of issue because we weren't used to it. But imagine what children heard. Not only did the adults screaming at the TV because of what's going on, financial things and all that sort of stuff, and the environment they take in. So they're absorbing all this. And then they go, and the one thing, the caveat that's really interesting is people always say, you'll be too young to remember. You won't remember it, you're too young. Well, how come I've not forgot how to walk then? I forgot how to count then. So if you can say, well, you're going to remember that, but you're not going to remember that. How does that work? Of course it doesn't. So the vicarious trauma that went on, children would have collected that. So these children are going to be the adults that are running the world. If we're not keeping our eyes out and seeing that mental trauma is an issue, it's going to be an issue, then you're absolutely missing what is going to happen. And don't take your eye off the ball.
With the work you've done, Vinny, has there been any client you've worked with that has just almost put you in tears in terms of how much of a change and how grateful it has made you feel for being able to help someone make that change?
Every day, every single day, I get something from a client that just makes me know that it's God's plan for me to do this job. And it might seem a bit cliche to people. I don't care what people think anyway. But I mean, to see people triumph from things that were just crippling them, literally crippling them, and for them to just go out and be a better father, be a better partner, be a better man, be a better woman, be a better whatever, is amazing. I see it every single day. I had a client the other day, a boxer called Tom. Me talking about not working with fighters, and there's another one. It's okay. And he rang me today and he said, I can't believe the change. I'm just absolutely astonished at the change. And I always say, and this is what everyone's got to understand, especially I had this lot of therapists that say, I see on Instagram and they're like, I do this. And people ask me this question, what I do, and it's all I's. Everything's about them. It is never about me. I deliver something that I didn't invent. I didn't invent it. I just present it, do it to the best of my ability that I've been taught by the people that taught me to present it for you to make the change or for you to facilitate the change. Not I. It's no power over. It's you makes a change, and I am happy about that. But he said a lot of people take the glory and what's about me and stuff like that. But to see him, to see Tom do that, to see some of the children, the feedback I've been having from saying that the daughter went to school, she was happy, she behaved herself, she could regulate herself, teaching the kids and teaching whoever it is. I get it every single day. So your answer to your question, has any moved me to tears? Probably near enough every day. And that's not no exaggeration, because I genuinely want people to do well. And my intention for them is just top level. I don't do my work half-assed. I do it to the best of my ability, you know?
We talk a lot to our community, particularly the guys that are still coaching. We have a lot of trainers in our community that are training coaches, but there's also a lot of coaches and therapists and counselors and those sorts of things. And we've been saying to them, there's going to continue to be a great deal of change that's happening on the planet. And in order for people to go through those transitions that are happening, they are going to need coaches, and the best people on the planet that we know that can do that is through those modalities like NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. You said that you're noticing this a lot in the schools in the UK. Are you travel a lot as well. Are you noticing it elsewhere in this? Have you been to the States lately? Are you talking to people over there? Are you seeing this happen globally as well with this same kind of issues starting to pop up and show up with young people across the world?
Well, COVID hit the planet, so yes,
Yeah,
of course. It's this bizarre thing where they don't think that it didn't affect me. It's like the people that say, you always find the ones that when you're working with them and they say, I don't need it, they're the people that need it the most, because they're like locking themselves into a certain way of thinking, and really they're the people that need it more than others. Yeah, I see it all over. I've got some American clients, and it's the same the world over. I mean, at the moment, look, we need, in my opinion, we need people to care for people right now, because at the moment the world seems like it's on fire. Whatever country you go, you live in, we know that at the moment the world isn't in a good place. It's not. It really is not. It's not all doom and gloom. I'm not trying to put a down on anybody, but yourself, you only have to look at the news and realize what's going on in this place and that place and the tragedies that are going on. Yeah. And I think that it's a duty, if you're of a certain caliber of person, is to help others. I think my whole purpose is to serve. Mm-hmm. So every country is feeling it at the moment, not only the ramifications of what happened when the lockdowns were on, but also what's going on in the world too, and the pressures of media and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not an easy time at the moment. So
Critical
Yeah,
thinking, I think, is such a skill that is not taught, but is needed right now. Because you
yeah,
mentioned media. Look, two things. One is that there's this amazing NLP trainer from New Zealand called Richard Bolstad, and he is teaching psychologists and care workers on the front line in the Ukraine and the front line when the Serbian war broke out in the
yeah,
90s, and
yeah,
he was there teaching psychologists and frontline workers how to use NLP in order to help with the trauma of the casualties and unfortunately the people
yeah.
who were in the middle who were getting affected by this. And the work he's got signed NLP scientific study after NLP scientific study, and he's also doing incredible work, and he's living that. Second question, we have a lot of coaches and trainers, as Cal mentioned, in our network who'll be listening to this, and like anything, when it gets hard, it's the easiest thing that most people do is say, "Oh, this is not for me." When it gets hard, I'm sure you've been up against it yourself. I'm sure you've sort of gone, "Oh, this is really challenging. Do I keep going or do I go in another direction?" Can you
Um,
share with us, or maybe not, how have you sort of hopped and kept straight with your mission from when you decided to switch and evolve and help others outside of, you said you're moving away from the fighters, so that
no,
your dopamine hits.
no. Sorry, I interrupted you there. No, I will work with them, but I'm just saying that's not my sole thing.
Yeah.
It's not my, oh, you work, like, I know you work, I get messages of Instagram. I know you just work with athletes. Like, no, I've never said that. But I'm associated with that, so I get it.
Yeah.
For me, when it's
origin story, it's a powerful origin story, and I guess
yeah, and the Joe Rogan thing, and yeah, it's been fantastic for me. Don't get me wrong, and I don't regret any of it at
I
all.
purposely didn't bring it up just because I was conscious of you wanting to move forward.
It's okay. It's absolutely fine. No, it's part of you. It's been part of you. It's part of you, isn't it? For me though, when it's been difficult, I've never stopped. I'm absolutely in love with the work. Yeah. Is it hard at times? Yes. Is it hard hearing traumas? And yes. Is it hard hearing people's tragedies that have gone on that they do not deserve? Of course it is. But it's like, I'm no use if I don't do it. Totally not. It's a bit like if you're a lifeguard or a coast guard and someone's in the water, you don't get in the water and push them out. You stay in your boat and pull them out. So for me, it's always been about being the best you can possibly be. And it's the fascination of, how does that work? It's almost like, for ADHD, hyperfocus is, what are they thinking? Where's that? How do they do that? How does they come to that? What's this? And then when you start to crack certain codes, it becomes almost like a puzzle for yourself to be able to integrate and and just communicate with the client the story of this ridiculous. I have got this problem, and they say I'm being stupid. It's ridiculous. And then when you show them the narrative of how it began to the point where it started, that's magic. Yeah. That's magic. It's amazing. And no, I've never. Has it been hard to go to you to answer your question, Conor? Yeah. But I'll never stop because I love it too much.
We have this new initiative in Australia called EAP, where it sounds like it's very similar to the work that you're doing in the corporate space, giving people the opportunity to be able to talk to someone. Back in the early 2000s, it was really big to have workplace health and safety. Now it's focused on mindset in the workplace. And you talked also about working a lot with kids. What is, like, if there's a coach listening right now that is hungry to have more clients, hungry to work with more people, how do you think they should approach the market in the best way, or even approach organizations, or approach schools or parents that are facing this issue? What are you finding is a good kind of way to frame the work that you do, and maybe a good way to have those conversations that open doors for people?
I think that the main thing is it hits statistics. Tell the truth. facts are facts, are they not? Once it's in black and white in front of you, that's actually the truth. I mean, they lost productivity, like I said, was up to 53 billion. And then last year, the economy lost 28 billion due to people being off with anxiety, stress, and other mental issues. Also with schools, because what's going on now is they're at capacity. I'm sure Australia is the same, or wherever country you're watching from, that their schools only have a certain amount of resources. So what you would do is you would say, look, this is a thing, and say, are your staff having A, B, and C? Because it only needs, I don't know, a line manager or a manager being off with stress, trying to replace that person with all the knowledge that they've got and the value that they have, trying to get someone in there, and then all the stresses and strains of doing that is difficult. Prevention's better than cure. So if you say, how are you feeling? What's going on? Get like a questionnaire for the whole company. Are you feeling this? Are you feeling that? Well, don't worry. You can, when you finish work, you can talk to me on Zoom. It'll be completely confidential. Make sure that you're independent, that you are working for the company, but you're not known as a company man or woman, because then they'll think that you're spying on them, etc. I'm sure people will think that. And just to make people feel happy, because happier people work better. Happy people will make more money. Happier people will go, so, or the opposite, stressed out people go home. Stressed out people spoil. They'll be in the house, not being who they should be. Children get stressed out. There's a massive knock-on effect. And it's evident now, because what's happened since 2023, mental illness cases have skyrocketed, at least in Great Britain, the UK. There is a reason for that, and there's a reason for it that, there is PTSD over COVID. People don't understand it. They think PTSD is like to do with Vietnam, or you're in Iraq, and this Rambo type stuff. Yeah, no. PTSD is getting bullied at school. PTSD is being told you're stupid. PTSD is your parents drunk, screaming at the TV, chucking balls at the wall and that, because they can't go to work, or your dad pulling his hair out because he might lose his business, and people did do, and family members. So it was a whole sort of thing that, because we're older and maybe it's not stuck in our mind so much, it's like a shoulder shrug. But what it is to a kid? I'll give you an example. When I was I must have been about 5, and I was watching TV, and there used to be a TV series of Planet of the Apes. And I was sat there watching Planet of the Apes, and I said, okay. And then the news came on, and then it said there was guerrilla warfare in Sierra Leone. Now you try and differentiate between guerrilla or the apes and guerrilla warfare in Sierra Leone, or wherever it was. Once it's stuck in here, you're stuck in your mind, in your amygdala, in your alarm system, you ain't getting that out. You're not, unless you get an understanding, or you get work that we do. Well, I do, or you guys do that anymore. So for me, it's about, just realizing that you can make a difference in people's work settings, and if you make people feel better at work, they'll feel better at home. That's just the way it is.
This has come at a good time. Sal, our podcast producer, she's just typed in a message on the live feed through Facebook, and she said, "With everything happening in the world right now, how does someone stay compassionate without becoming overwhelmed or emotionally burnt out?"
It depends where you get your dopamine from, because some people get dopamine off the news. Some people see, with dopamine, it's negative, because you can get a high from a negative that I would think is negative. Like some people will get a dopamine hit from going to funerals. That's just the fact. It's just the way it is. To try and be positive and we can't be positive all the time. So you got to accept that you're going to have ups and downs. I think the thing is like, you've got to look at what's around you. Like it's about staying localized in your mindset and around you. Like, like if there's someone that you can help, a sister, a brother, a client, going off that, because the rest of the world we can't do anything about. That's so. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just don't know. I ain't got a clue. All I do is localize myself and do what I can within my vicinity of what I do.
Yeah.
If you learn to be a therapist and you learn to be empathetic and you get these little stories where, oh, my daughter had a great night's sleep last night and she went to school happy. Well, there's mine. So there's little bits, little tiny bits that you've got to look for instead of this big one hit, you know. But like I said, the world seems like it's on fire. So I've sympathised with the lady that the way she may feel like that. Obviously, feel like because that's why she asked the question. But it's like, what do you do? Well, then you just have to take joy in the moments and the gratitude of what you've got around you. I know it's cliche, but just take these little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
This is an interesting one because, you know, I have gone through periods of my life, especially through COVID, where I felt like, you know, as the father, the provider, the protector of my family, it was important for me to keep up to date with the news, but not just the news on TV, but, you know, all of the different YouTube channels with, you know, people who are giving their different sides and opinions to things. And I remember, and it's happened again recently with some of the stuff that's going on in the Middle East, where, you know, I would get hooked on those storylines, and I would be getting a dopamine hit from it, and I would want to know, have the awareness or know what the next thing is, and I think that it can be a bit of a trap because am I chasing the dopamine hit, and is there really anything that I can actually do about it, and is it just me being hooked on these storylines, just like a good, you know, sitcom, where I'm just constantly putting myself in this fight or flight, cortisol's high, like you said, dopamine, getting that dopamine addicted to these negative things. And it's not until, you know, I pull back and go somewhere with no phone service with my family, and it usually takes me a few days. Like even when we went to Fiji last year, it took me like 3 days to kind of come down from the you know, the work stuff that's going on and the, you know, the stuff that's going on online. Do you think that can be a bit of a trap for people as well? And do you kind of tune out from that and, like you said, just focus on the things that are
Is he coming back?
Can't hear him.
Can't hear him. So I think I mean where Cal was going with that was, yeah, how do you know that you're chasing the dopamine hit of the Zarganic effect, which is sort of having an open loop, like the Game of Thrones? Every time the Game of Thrones show finished, you're on the next episode because you need that fixed. You need to know what happens next.
Yeah.
Do you? All right, Cal, you're back.
Sorry. Always when I'm on a roll. I'm not sure how much you got of that, but I hope you got enough to kind of answer the question.
We got to Fiji. We got to. Yeah, you said it normally takes a couple of days for you to wind down. And
is that something that you do steer clear of? Getting outside of that, you know, addiction of watching and keeping up to date with things.
I think you can't get away from it, and sometimes, yeah, you can't get away from it, and it all depends on how you're wired. But it's like, again, you even just said, and you're a sane thinking gentleman, right? I hope that you even got caught up in the COVID thing, in the whole conundrum of it all, and the, you know, and the snowballing effect and stuff like that, and all the misinformation, misinformation that was spewed out and stuff. I think the main thing is to learn to what regulates you, because most people are dysregulated. So if you can't learn how to regulate yourself, like there's a really beautiful video on YouTube. It's about the island of regulation, the window of tolerance, and it's about a little panda, and it's going along the river of life. So, you know, sometimes you're going to explode and be frustrated and angry, and other days you're going to be in the land of ice where you're lowly and not in the mood and stuff. And it's about knowing yourself and where you regulate yourself to find things that will bring you into from being dysregulated, i.e., like, you know, journaling or swimming or anything that's bilateral. So like boxing, walking, moving, playing a racket sport or a ball sport, anything that gets you both sides of your brain working. That's how you can regulate yourself, meditating, whatever. So make sure that you have a place, have a thing that you can do. All right, I'm doing this. Be aware of your emotions, be aware of you, and then go right. Okay, I'm going to do this for myself or that for myself. Bilateral music is amazing. EMDR music, you can get it off everywhere, all the music providers and on YouTube. And just listening to that for a little bit. There's a really good book by Anna Runkle called Re-Regulated that's fabulous because she teaches you how to write your fears down. You write them down. You have a sign-off saying, I hereby release this to the universe, God, whatever it is. And then you destroy it. I burnt mine. So you write your fears down, you burn them. And then as you more like cycle through, get emptying your amygdala of all these fears and these alarms, then that's when you start to be able to regulate yourself in a better way. I'm far from the finished product, by the way. However, it's a pursuit because I want to have a life where I can handle things better. And that's, I'm sure that everybody else wants that.
You've also done a lot of work on yourself and with yourself. I think if you can have, you don't want to be like a robot and just like emotionless your entire life. But I think if you have done work on yourself, you have less propensity to be as reactive and as volatile with your emotions when challenging or triggers pop up. Funny, I feel the need to say it. Talk about, I would say, I don't mind the odd conspiracy theory. I find it interesting. I just enjoy. But I used to have a boss, and or bosses, and they were full on conspiracy theorists. And what they during COVID, they would share with their team their conspiracy theories. Things like if we don't leave Australia, we're all going to be in concentration camps, like in the Second World War. Yeah. And they're sharing this with their team. And any of the team members who didn't buy into this, the boss, who was an authority figure, would say they just don't want to hear this information because their neurology can't handle it. And in my mind, I'm like, these people are nuts. So that was a bit of a crazy.
What was worse too, I think, was the fact that
you needed to have critical thinking. So coming back to critical thinking, I think critical thinking is one of the biggest skills we can teach people, to look and the magic of language and dissect information and pick up what's a fallacy and what's true. And I think that's a skill set that everyone should learn. I just felt the need to say that. Cal.
Yeah, what's important, like you both know about NLP, of course, far more than I do. And you just say, well, for what purpose? They're going to do this for what? I always used to say, why though? For what purpose? What for? Because this, and then they get to a point where they chunk up or they chunk down, and then they go, well, I don't know. Well, why are you telling me then? It's like directions to somewhere, isn't it? It's like, why is Australia so far away? Sorry. We'll put it on wheels and we'll pull it towards us so it's nearer for you. It's like, it doesn't make sense. So when you ask what for, but then again, it's like people are allowed to do what they want. People will do what they want. So if they talk about it, I'm not against it or for it. I've got more to do. I've got more to do in my life than worry about what the Rockefeller's doing or whoever it is, the Biden or whoever it is, to do right. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. It's like the old thing about Alexa's listening to you, and if the government are listening to my conversation, they're going to be really bored because all they do is talk to clients and talk to clients, talk about boxing because boxing I do love, and talk to me dog. All right. So it's not
conversations with the dog. That would be interesting.
No, dog will like you. Beautiful. Come on, let's go out with Dada. That's it. It's not. It's like I've got my own. Trying to live somebody else's life, trying to wonder what they're doing and what's next is like, it's going to go on anyway. It's going to go on.
Yeah, it was a big test in critical thinking. A big
of course.
Of resilience, of discipline, of focusing on what you want, and that wasn't it.
Yeah, I mean, look, none of us are perfect. None of us walk on water. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say stupid things. We're going to act stupid. We're going to think stupid things. But it's all part of being human. It's like, what do you want to be? You know, it's just being. It's regulating yourself. That's the one thing. So when I do, I'll tell you, I have to tell you this. When we watch this video, and I'll send it to you so you can send it on to other people, right, on YouTube. And when we had to watch this video, then you have to draw your own island, the river of life, and then the two Latin. So there was like a land of fire and land of ice, and then they put in the reasons why you'd be in the land of fire: angry, upset, frustrated, because they're negative energies that get you cortisol and everything going. And then there's being depressed and being down and being low mood and not wanting to do anything and staying in bed, and that's a different type of energy. And the lady said, right, so I want everyone to write down in their island what they do to regulate themselves. And I didn't have anything. Nothing. Because I just thought, I get in a bad mood, I get angry, and then I just come down. Or I get pissed off, excuse my French, and then I just calm down. But what calmed me down? I didn't really know. I really didn't know. I just thought it just goes. And it's like, no, there is a quicker route of doing it. So you've got to find what calms you down, what makes you go, I'm not bothered now. You know? It's something that I didn't have. Everyone else is writing all these things down. I do this, I do that, and I'm like,
I go fishing. I talk to
You
the
know.
dog.
you talk to the dog, shout, whatever. You know, it was. So it was. It's all a big learning curve for me to especially learning to regulate stuff.
It's interesting, Vinny, and you might be able to relate to this, because I've been having longer and longer spells without alcohol. You know, we spoke about this the last time.
Yeah.
You jumped on and you've gone on a journey with stopping alcohol. And I think that for me, at different times in my life, it didn't start this way, but for me, as I became a father and stuff like that, having a drink was a way to regulate. And I found that when I stopped drinking for those periods, one time in particular, we went away for the weekend to a beautiful, tranquil space outside of the noise with no phone service. But I wasn't drinking, and I kind of came in. Everyone was already there. The kids were having a great time. The parents were, you know, there was us and another family. Everyone was having a drink, and I'd came in from like quite a full-on week, and I just couldn't get into it, and I couldn't just relax and chill out like everybody else was. And I was so frustrated and annoyed with myself. It just made it worse. Even with all the skills and techniques that I had, I just couldn't snap out of it. And it's interesting what you said, to actually have a regulation process, a protocol that allows you to do that. And I think if I had created some space between work and going there, even I had a long drive, but actually do some breathing techniques, or jump in a cold plunge or a cold shower, or do some meditation, or, you know, connect with nature before I went into that space, I probably would have changed everything. And that was one of the big things that I was acutely aware of after stopping drinking, was that I needed to find other ways to regulate, because I was using alcohol at the time. So can you relate to that at all?
Well, it's changing state, isn't it? That's what it is. It's changing your state. Of course I can, and it's more difficult when you don't drink, because you realize that you have to rely on something else to get you in that place, you know. So the one thing is, if you have ADHD, you're more likely to have less inhibitions anyway, as naturally as a person. And then what happens is, when you drink alcohol, you lose them all. So that's why you have these episodes of, do you remember what you did last night? You did A, B, C, this, and most of the time, 90% of the time, I didn't. But the 1 to 10% of the time that I did put me off alcohol for myself forever. So I'll never do it again. But it's about now your journey of going, what else can I do? Because you're not brilliant at everything. No one is. You might be brilliant at some things, and you know, I know you're brilliant people, so I'm say that hand on heart. However, there is something. Well, what are you not good at? What are you not doing? What are you not doing that you know that you should be? It's like, it's words. You know that of course you know these word terms. So it's about finding something else. It's about evolving. It's about growing. If you can only count up to 5, then you can't count up to 10. If you can't count up to 10, you know, and count up to 100 and beyond. So if you're not looking at something and say, well, how can I improve? How can I get better? And not being obsessive with it, like you got to improve every day and like be all sort of, you know, these are entrepreneurs that are like this, and you're going to do this and drink 15 gallons of water every day, whatever. Good. Good luck with that. But it's like, I do.
The Huberman, Andrew Huberman, the professor from Stanford University, he's got all the biohacks, and he's got a big following in it. And they've got their incredible routine that they do every morning, and how much sleep they get every night. They talk about how they get 8 to 9 hours sleep every night. It's just when you've got young kids and you're not getting sleep,
of course they do.
That's not going to work.
And Brian Johnson eats broccoli every day, does he? Okay, of course he does. Yeah, and they get 8 nights hours of sleep every night, and then this, and then they walk in sunlight, then they have an ice bath, then they have a sauna for 20 minutes, and it's like, get a job.
And have kids. Have some kids.
Yeah, have some kids. Have a cake. Have a cake. You know what I mean? No, I just think that, they bring value to the world. I mean, Joe Rogan does. Wim Hof has. Andrew Huberman does. David Sinclair, Rhonda Patrick, who I think's the best out of them all. They all bring value to the world. They all bring these little things, but like everything in moderation. But I think learning to regulate yourself, Cal, would be a good idea for you to go, right, okay, what can I do? What else have I got to learn? Am I going to write a book? Am I going to read? Am I going to listen to an audio book? Whatever. Just these little things that will improve you, because we're trying to grow our intelligence. That's the main thing, is to get to it.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to. You've mentioned EMDR. In the last 12 months, you've been trained up with EMDR.
Yeah.
Could you share with our audience what it is, and how specifically you've been able to blend it with your work with NLP coaching and hypnosis and timeline therapy?
The combination of EMDR and hypnosis is by far the best change work I have seen ever. Ever. I have never seen anything so magically powerful. You know how long I've been doing it? Yeah. Next year, I've been involved in NLP for 20 years, so it's my 20th year. But EMDR, it's just absolutely incredible. I have never seen anything so fascinating and so quick and so beneficial. I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. Obsessed. Because what it is like, it's Francine Shapiro was the lady that first invented it, and she said that she was walking along, had a problem. I don't know whether this is like a metaphor, whether it's true or not, I don't know. However, she said she was walking along, and then when she was walking along in her eyes, she noticed that her eyes were moving side to side. She thought about the problem that she had in her mind was going away. So if you think about it, when people go for walks and they go, oh, I feel better. Why? Oh, just because why? What's the difference between being sat down with your problem and walking with your problem? And the thing is, it's bilateral movement. So it gets either sides of your hemispheres working together. And it's just astounding the way it works. It was used for veterans for PTSD. But I have seen such profound changes and so quickly. It's just bananas. It really is bananas.
Can you explain what if someone has never heard of EMDR in a nutshell?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just went off on how much I love it, didn't I? It's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Okay.
Sorry. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So basically, there's a couple of ways of doing it now. You can use tappers, which you can hold in your hands, or you can use eye movement. So you move your eyes side to side while you're focusing on the problem. And so think of it like, so your amygdala holds like your alarm system. So your alarm system, basically, if you've got trauma in there, it's going to go off all the time because it's not been processed. It's not been processed in a way that it should be. So what happens is when you've got a trauma, or when you've got PTSD or whatever it is, this stays in your amygdala. When you move your eyes movement side to side, what that does is your brain starts to reprocess it and put it where it should be. Think of it like if you've got a keypad with all the numbers, but the 6 is missing, or the 6 and 7's missing. It puts them back in, so it processes in a better way.
So as you're doing the process, are you associating in the trauma? Are you associating in the emotion, and then you do the process, and then you've lit up your neurology to feel what
correct.
you're feeling, and then you run this process with your eyes and maybe some tapping, you said, and then it sort of just rejigs it and sifts it back into place where it should go.
Yes, so for instance, in NLP, it's probably like the fast phobia model.
Where would it go? So you said if it sits in the amygdala as a trauma, as a trigger, and you run the process, where would it go from there?
So it goes from your prefrontal cortex, and so you calm down. So you calm down, you go, oh yeah. It's bizarre, but it's it's just it's addictive. Helping people, seeing people change, seeing people's dragons be slayed, seeing people's clouds lifted. Come on, that's addictive. It's addictive. It's amazing. I love it. I'm very blessed. I have the best job in the world, you know. And but it's like it gets processed. So it's a bit like having something blocked in a sink. It's like once you unblock it, then it just starts to process properly. So it goes into the rest of the the negative of the film. There's one missing, that missing, and then it just goes. The negative of the film becomes the movie that it is. And then what also is like, you sort of, in the way where you put in a positive connotation, because you know yourself, if you take something negative out, you got to put something back in. You don't just leave it open, right? So what you do is like, then you have what would be the greatest or higher feeling that you could have, and what could you say to yourself? So not only are you moving the problem out of the way, but you're resourcing the client. And that's really, really important. And that's what I think most therapy is missing, massively missing. I'm telling you now, is the resourcing, is a client. Because what happens is the client comes to you for an hour, you say, oh, this, and this. You talk about the issue, or you're doing say a detailed personal history. They get to a point where, well, they've got to go and you've got no time. They'll walk out with that. They'll walk out with that plane in the head. It's a very difficult thing. So what one of the protocols is, and the beautiful protocol is like, so if you with a client and you talk to them, he talks about the history. What you do now is you write, what do you love? So you say to the client, so what do you love? And they say, and they start telling you, say, wait. So you write it verbatim. So you write it down. Yeah. Obviously, time to slow down. And then what you do is, this is really useful if anyone wants to. I'll share it. It's no problem. It's not mine anyway. I didn't invent it. You write it down, these things that they love, and then you say, okay, what do you love? What are you good at? And what are your dreams? Right. So they start what they love. Then what are they good at, and what are their dreams? And then you read it back to them. But you read it back to them in such a way that it becomes almost art. So instead of going, so say you said, I love my children, I love my wife, I love having the ability to help people, I love my country, for instance. Yeah. But if you say, I love my wife, I love my children, I love my work, I love my country. When you feed it back slower, when you feed it back with volition, when you feed it back, it's poetic. And what happens is they really get surprised of what they love because they just tell you. So when they pour it out, and then when you say, what are you good at? I am good at this. I am good at that. And you're giving them resource. Most people don't. I've done all this before. I know. People don't. When you've got resource, So then, I'm giving secrets away here, but it's not a secret. What I do is when I get the clients, so I write it down, then I record it. Then I record it for them, but then I record it with EMDR music. So not only do they get the EMDR benefits of the bilateral stimulation, most time it's like either side of your brain, you're also telling them what they love, what the resources are, and what they're good at.
Bit of an affirmation in a way.
No, well, it's not an affirmation because it's who you really are. Affirmation is what you want to be. What you want to be. I am strong. I am this. Kind of, yeah. But this is more so because it's more, you know yourself and you must know this. You should obviously know it. If you're a hypnotherapist and you feed their words back to them, their brains and their unconscious is more likely going to enjoy it than saying words that they don't say.
Keywords are so important, definitely.
Exactly, but keywords that because it's words in your
keywords, yes, they're keywords.
Yes, you understand. So it's like when you feed it back to them and they listen to it, the effect is quite magical.
Stunning.
Yeah, I haven't learned much about it. It's really caught my attention, and I think it kind of couples in nicely with like somatic work, which is working with the body as well as the mind. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Well, it's the book, isn't it, from Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score, which is doing the rounds, and it's about that it's in your neurology. It's actually in you. It's the part of you. So when you do a somatic check as well, you say, where is it? Where can you feel it in your body? And the client will say the chest, the stomach, the head, whatever. Yeah. And then when you've done the work, not only does that go, the problem goes, but then there's a resource, but there's also the feeling that the physicality's changed. It's no brainer.
Brilliant.
No brainer.
Well, Vinny, we love having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
And just conscious of your time. It's 11.
No, listen, it's absolutely fine. So it's fine. It's whatever you need to do.
At night. My beautiful mother has landed from New Zealand, and she is going to be joining us for the weekend. And she's at the little airport, about a 20-minute drive, and her plane lands in about 15, 20 minutes. So
no problem, brother.
I have to duck out, but Cal, any final words for anybody?
Yeah, look, I just want to know, we've obviously got a big group of people that I think could learn a lot from you, but also people that may want to reach out and work with you in some capacity. Is there a best way to get in touch with you? I know you're quite prominent on Instagram. You're prominent on Facebook as well, but where can people reach out to you and how can they learn about how they can work for you or be mentored by you?
You can get me on my Instagram, which is Vinnie Shoreman. You can also get on the ShoremanSolution.com, which is a series of videos. There's hypnosis on there. There's different tips and tricks. Some things you may know, some things you may not. There is also a section going up about ADHD and about EMDR, so that'll be available very soon too. But if anyone wants to ask me any questions or they want to have any advice that I can give them, then no problem at all.
I've just popped your Instagram on the live feed on the chat here. You see, I said this off air. Cal and I still talk about the session we had with you last year, just how much of a difference you're making in the world. And what I personally appreciate is how humble you are. Even when describing about the psychologists who have those reels, I this, that's something not many people would pick up, that they're referencing themselves, that they are a solution. Whereas it's not every day you get a coach or a practitioner or a therapist who really understands that the client is the one that makes that changes gets the results. We're simply the tour guide along the way, and you live and breathe that, and it's a pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you, with someone on that level.
Thank you. I mean, why would I? I'm right.
Yeah, no, Kallum,
Don't know.
subscribe to that as well. 100% subscribe to it.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I never thought I'm better than anyone. I'm just better than I was last week. I'm trying to be better than I was today, and people like you in the world and kind people, and the people that are listening, I'm sure they're all in for the same thing. And may God bless you all. And I thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You bet. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Vinny.
Thank you very much for watching the Unplugged podcast with Kallum and Conor from Connekt Coaching. Hope you loved this guest this week as much as we did. Cal?
What we wanted to remind you of is that if you wanted to steal our forever business model, which is perfect for all sorts of businesses around the world, to start to build extra revenue in your business right away, get instant access by clicking on the description and going into the link below, watching the 9-minute video where we unpack everything. See you next time.